much kind of summed up the tone and the tenor of this event pretty nicely. Because you had Hegseth coming right out of the gate with some very aggressive rhetoric.
To ensure peace, we must prepare for war. From this moment forward, the only mission of the newly restored Department of War is this: warfighting, preparing for war and preparing to win, unrelenting and uncompromising in that pursuit. Not because we want war, no one here wants war, but it's because we love peace.
You had Hegseth saying that the United States is the most lethal and effective military power on earth, but it finds itself in an increasingly dangerous world. And he called this a moment of urgency, saying that enemies gather, threats grow. And so in terms of concrete changes, he called for increased spending on pretty much everything: troops, weapons, vehicles, AI, you name it. But then he also spent the vast majority of his speech arguing that about what the military really needs is the right people and the right culture. And to him, that means so-called de-wokifying the armed
which was a fintech, not a bank, despite being promoted as a bank by a number of big YouTubers. Almost 14,000 customers report that they're being offered a combined $11.8 million, despite having deposited almost $65 million. It's not clear how this money is being divided up, as some customers, like the school teacher I mentioned earlier, are doing a lot worse than others. Yotta is a particularly strange example of a fintech, where it was originally launched as offering prize-linked savings accounts, which are savings accounts in which the depositor receives a low interest rate, but then has the chance of winning a large amount of money in a sweepstakes. The New York Times described Yotta a year ago as a smart way to turn gambling into a virtue. Andreessen Horowitz, a large Silicon Valley VC firm, explained in their blog
on trigonometry.
Thank you for having me.
And the reason it's great to have you on, you are super controversial. You wrote this book in which you suggested that mothers are really good for their kids. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. Shouldn't be controversial, but yes. Yes.
I'm joking around, obviously, but what you wrote the book about, essentially, the central theme is, particularly in the first 3 years, babies and toddlers really need their mum around.
Yeah.
And that seems like actually is quite a difficult thing to say in the modern world.
Well, you can't even use the term mother in some places. In Northern Europe now, in some countries, you're not even allowed to use the term mother. At the UN, they won't let you use the term mother. So yeah, it is problematic.
Yeah, and why can't you use the term mother?
Because they feel everything has to be gender neutral and that mothers are exactly the same as fathers. And the truth is that there are a lot of ways in which men and women are the same, but there's a lot of ways in which we're different. And one of the ways in which we're different is how we nurture children.
The witnesses, it's real life on display for you. But it is also a court of law. And not only do opposing sides battle it out, but there are also those times, those very tense times between the judge and the attorneys. And that is what I want to get into. 7 of some of the most heated moments between a judge and an attorney in our recent cases. Now, I got to tell you, I don't remember in recent history maybe any more heated moment between a judge and an attorney than in the Parkland school shooter trial out of Florida. The penalty trial for the man who pleaded guilty to 17 counts of murder and 17 counts of attempted murder for opening fire at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School back in 2018. After he pled guilty, all the jury had to decide was what should be his punishment, life in prison or the death penalty. And I want to be clear here. This was an exhausting trial. It was very emotionally taxing, especially with the victim impact statements from the
Who is Colin Thompson? And 2, y'all are making 6 to 7 figures doing podcasts? I'm in the wrong line of work. I make like 4 figures here in the $10 million studio. Barely keep the lights on, okay? So I went to do some research, figure out, how these people are making all this money and also how they got robbed. And what I found out was that this company that stole the $4 million was a podcast network called Cast Media. Podcast network being a fancy name for saying they represent podcasts to find sponsors. All that stuff you violently skip with the fast forward 15-second button. Yeah, those guys. And Cast Media would basically work with them as a middleman. They would take some money, give the podcasters the read, and then give the money. Of course, taking a cut for themselves. Now, that is simplifying it a bit, and we'll go into the details more later. But what you need to know is that Cast Media hadn't been paying their talent on time. And what started as being late for maybe a month had turned into 7, 8, 9 months late on paying until one day Cast Media and their CEO
out. I said, I don't believe you, but it's very sweet. And I'll say it again, but it's very nice of you to say. Well, it's real. It's real. But yeah, so I want to talk about a couple of the videos that I've seen on your platform in particular, and I want to talk about why you got into it and where you came from, and I think it'll be an awesome interview. So, but everybody starts off with an introduction here. So, AJ Gentile, the creative force behind the hit YouTube channel, The Y-Files, where you dive into mysteries, myths, and conspiracies with millions of subscribers. A talented voice actor, producer, and writer known for your captivating narration and the hilarious commentary from your animated sidekick, the Hecklefish. A Mensa member with a sharp, skeptical mind, always presenting in
statement here. It's not an apology and it's not a victory lap in any way. But there's been a lot of attention, I think, on the last episode of the pod and perhaps some tweeting from two of the four besties this past weekend. I saw, and I'll let you speak for yourself here, Sax, and we're going to get into the timeline of what's occurred and then what are potential outcomes here and solutions to the banking issues that we've witnessed in what is a week since the bank run on Silicon Valley Bank and the shutdown on Friday. But what I saw, and again, speaking only for myself here, was absolutely terrifying up close and personally watching people pulling money out of banks and watching people have to set up loans to hit their payroll. And this was like one of those surreal moments in a movie where like a meteor is coming towards Earth and you see it in the telescope and nobody else sees it, or only a small number of people in the observatory see it. And I think part of the reason people listen to this podcast is because we are insiders, and speaking again just for
Joy and Nitberg.
Who's that?
Nitberg, yeah.
my new nickname.
That's the new nickname for Freeberg, Nitberg.
Oh, he was knitting it up, Sax. He had the needles out and everything. I bought in 10K and I cashed out 90.
And they're referring to you now, Sax, as scared Sax because you won't play on the live stream.
His VPIP was 7%.
No, my VPIP was 24%.
If I'd known there was an opportunity to make $350,000 against a bunch of 4-year-olds, I would have been
Would you have given it to charity? And which one of DeSantis's charities would you have given it to? Which charity?
If it had been a charity game, I would have donated to charity.
Would you have done it if you could have given the money to the DeSantis super PAC? That's the question.
You could do that. You can do that.
Good idea. Why don't you host a... That's actually a really good idea. We should do a poker game for presidential candidates. We all play for our favorite presidential candidates.
Oh, that'd be great.
Ooh, and the donation, we each go in for 50K, and then Sachs has to see his 50K go to Nikki Haley.
Oh, my God.
That would be bitterness.
Incredible.
Let me ask you something.
Political decision?
Oh, 100%, yeah.
If we look at the Oscars now, what is the point of the Oscars, really? Because the last time anybody really talked about the Oscars in any great detail was when Chris Rock was assaulted.
They're dying a death, and they're bringing about their own demise.
Critical drinker, welcome to the Kremlin. Sitting at the end of a very long table.
It's great. I feel like a Bond villain here. It's fantastic.
Well, it's awesome to have you back on the show. We had you on about a year and a half ago. And we spent, it's not an uncommon thing for us, quite a bit of time talking about whether wokeness is destroying Hollywood and the movie business. And we had a great
in that cell. I know the deal. There's no way, in my view, that he could have committed suicide. You know, Trump says he's going to release the Epstein files. We'll see. We'll see who's on there. Same with Diddy. I think it's going to be surprising to a lot of people. So guests get in touch with me. They want to be on. They talk to me. So many people have contacted me about Diddy. I try to weed through them. Who's telling the truth? Who's not? We talked to Suge Knight. You know, some controversy there, but come on. Suge is a street guy. He knew Diddy. He knows the rap industry is good or better than anybody. So I have to, I have to say that he's credible in a lot of things that he said. Then I brought Greg on, Greg Kading. He disagreed with some of the things that Suge said. He gave his own perspective on some things. Hey, I put it out there. You let these people talk, and then you agree or disagree, and you take from it what you believe you should. And today I have a guest that I got to tell you,